I knew that we needed an able pastor here. I knew it, not just because of the Sal thing, because I didn't know it was as big as it was. It wasn't at the time. But the whole relationship with St. Eulalia. So St. Eulalia was a possible collaborative partner with this parish, and we certainly needed strong leadership if that person became the pastor at St. Eulalia. So I'm the one that asked Father Erickson to come. I find him a very decent person, and I thought that in the long run, if anyone could actually take over those two parishes, he would be up there. He used to be the Vicar General of the diocese. He's an Air Force general currently. He has leadership skills. He's a good man. And so I advocated for Father Erickson to come. And I convinced him on the phone to come. So he came. Now, when a new pastor comes, a new pastor has to check everything out. When I was made pastor of St. Teresa's in North Reading, I had the diocese do an audit. I inspected everything, protocols that were not according to canon law, since I'm a canon lawyer. I fixed those. So a new pastor does those types of things. And Father Erickson is an absolute rules follower. Sal is a sometimes rules follower. Sal loves people and loves people to be happy. He loves you. He's always wanted you to be happy. And if he could get something in for you, he's going to do it. That's who he is. And remember that the compromise I made with Sal because Father Bovacanti sent to me? He only did part of that. Father Erickson didn't believe Sal when Sal told him what I had told him. And he was right. Sal hadn't heard the whole thing. So that's one of the things that Sal wasn't doing according to Father Erickson right. Meanwhile, those financial protocols are all coming in, and Sal is thinking that he is being marginalized, pushed out. And in some ways, I don't blame him. His things were done without the staff, without his input. And he's been here for 23 years or so, and it hurt him every time something happened without him. And he took it as I'm being kicked out. And he might have been right. I heard you.
Yeah.
He might have been right. Okay. And I think that I think we're being very, very honest with you. So I'm going to continue. So I can see that too. That because there are certain things you have to do in the church in 2018 if you're going to be a leader in the church. Right? You have to have financial accountability. You have to have child protection protocols. You have to work as a team. These are certain things that have to happen in 2018. And we do not compromise one bit on our child protection protocols. And we do not compromise. I don't know why you're mad. Okay. All right.
Let us know what you didn't do.
Okay. So, I am not making any intimation. Sal is perfectly safe. He's a wonderful person. He's not, to my knowledge, has he ever hurt anyone, nor would he. Okay. to, for example, have the right number of people in a room at the right time. Things like that. They have to happen. And that's and then financial protocols. If anyone here works for any business that works for that business and uses a company credit card, hands in a receipt. It's no different for anyone. And that's the kind of thing that was irritating Father Erickson. And Father Erickson has a right to demand that these things happen. Okay, not yet. So, he also, because he is an emotional sometimes person.
Full of love, that's an emotion.
Okay, because of that, I think Father Messina was the one that best could work with Sal. But nevertheless, because he would at times get frustrated and angry and rude to people.
Why? Yes.
I can see why. Okay.
What do you think of Charlie yourself?
Okay, so. All right, so I'm just giving you what I know. Okay, continue. So there was a meeting with Vern Lovely here. All right, so there was a meeting with, I don't know how I've gone out of line so far. Okay, there was a meeting with Vern Lovely here. It was a disastrous meeting. All right, so the meeting happened, and I was very upset at how that meeting happened. I was upset for Vern, I was upset for Sal. And so, after that meeting, and because things had now got into the newspapers, and these are false things in the newspapers, some of them. What his lawyer said to the Boston Globe, that as soon as he started talking about the FBI, he was getting fired, is simply false. All right? And what was said about the Coke receipt and all that, these are false things that his lawyer said to the media. And therefore, he was going to be fired. I intervened. So there was a conference call. I was driving down the road. I was upset at what was happening. I did not think he should be fired. I thought that we should cool down. And I intervened. And I did not let them fire him. And instead, we asked permission of his lawyer if I could meet with him one-on-one. I was under the impression that I could speak to him and try to work behind the scenes. I was very pleased that his lawyer said yes. And so Sal and I met over 2 afternoons, over 2 weeks. And we met for about 5 hours. And I talked to Sal and wrote down notes, and I heard his side of the story, and I was very sympathetic to his side of the story, and I still am today. And I was sorry that this happened to Sal. And my plan was to soften the language of the things that he needed to comply with. So there were some things he needed to comply with, and I softened the language of them. But my plan was to get him to compromise, and we were trying to meet without lawyers in the room, because lawyers in the room is a far different kind of meeting. And so there's no lawyer with me tonight, right? Far different type of meeting that way. Okay. It was going fine. It made the poor staff at St. Mary's, this was dragging out because of me. That's difficult. I mean, some people just wanted something to happen, a resolution. It was difficult for you because you didn't even know that was happening and you thought it was just nothing happening. So, it was not me that didn't want to make that public. It was his lawyer that didn't want to make that public. So, Father Erickson was trying to make it public. He wanted you to know this. Father Erickson, meanwhile, he was just, his medical health was being aggravated, and we told him to go. So he went. I'm sorry that happened. But his leaving, he already had something that was ill. He was ill, but he just, this was very hard for him to do. So, and it was just being aggravated, so he left. Okay. I think there would have been a third meeting. However, unfortunately, after the second meeting, we got a letter from his lawyer, and it questioned things that I had said to Sal. And I knew that the one-on-one, let's just work it out, I couldn't continue, because I had never told our lawyers or anyone anything in this conversation. And yet, unfortunately, we got this kind of challenge. Is it true that Bishop O'Connell said this? And so I knew that these were no longer outside the box, away from the lawyer things.
Your lawyer was in the second meeting.
Not with me.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
My lawyer was not. You're talking about the third meeting. There was, excuse me, sir, I think you're talking about the third meeting. I haven't got there yet. Okay, I'm sorry if I miss. I'll get to the third meeting in about 2 minutes. I am not an attorney. I am a canon lawyer, which is a church lawyer, so I can tell you church things. Okay. So, unfortunately, after that second meeting, the one-on-one talks were no longer possible. And so I rewrote the things that we asked him to comply with, and I'm not allowed to give you that list because of lawyers. Okay. In other words, anyone here who works with HR will tell you that we cannot speak specific things about personnel issues. Therefore, but I've already told you they're about complying to certain things that have to happen in the year 2018. Okay? Financial, child protection, things like that.
Right.
Okay, so I did that, and we sent this to his lawyer, through our lawyer, and we asked for a meeting to negotiate or talk about, I shouldn't use the word negotiate. We asked for a meeting to see if he would sign it. If he had signed it, we had a plan to bring him back. A lot of people were telling me not to. And so, lawyers. And, okay. So, I was also now at this point getting flooded with letters from some of you and other people, and some were saying, we love Sal and you're tearing apart our faith, which I heard, and I'm sorry for that. And the other group was saying, Sal's got to go. So